Perfect.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for setting up this North American Basic Income Guarantee Conference. This is really great, and thank you very much for allowing me to present here. So my journey in this whole space kind of started back in 2008 when Ron Paul was running for president, and he would oftentimes in his speeches say that we need to go back to a sound money system. And at the time, I had no idea what sound money even meant. So I had to Google that, and that kind of led me down a rabbit hole to just start researching money itself and the history of money. And it was quite an eye-opening journey. And so I figured out what sound money basically amounts to. When you start creating paper money, you need to have somebody that actually issues that money, because that money doesn't have any intrinsic value by itself. And so we have the problem that how do we prevent the issuer from, creating more money and just diluting the people who are holding and saving that money. Excuse me. So the solution is basically to not allow the issuer to issue more paper money than the commodities such as gold or silver that they have in order to back it up. And so ultimately what we really want is stable prices and a healthy economy. So after thinking through that, I kind of came to the conclusion that the sound money concept is good, but backing it with like some physical commodity is probably not the way to go. And so I wrote this paper back in 2011. It's called Sound Money Without Commodities, where I proposed an alternative system which would have the same properties of sound money, but without actually needing to have commodities backing it up. So how did that work? So basically, there's just two aspects to it. One is, the money creation, which says you periodically give all individuals a fixed amount of money, which we now call UBI. And then there's also a money destruction part of it, because if you're only giving money, then of course you're going to inflate the money supply. So you have to periodically remove a small percentage of the money supply, and that's referred to as demurrage. So those were, basically the two key things that you really need to do. And from a mathematical perspective, if you look at, like, let's say you had an account that you could create with some entity where you now get some UBI deposited into your account on a daily basis, let's say like 10 units per day. And then we have a small rate of demurrage, such as like 1% of a percent per day being removed, based on your total balance. So if you did nothing with that account, you can imagine that, each day you're going to get 10 units deposited into there, but the demurrage rate is so low that it's not going to impact your growth of your account too much. But eventually, when your balance starts to get really large, then that small percentage that's being removed is going to equal the 10 that's being deposited, and so your balance eventually will kind of hit an equilibrium and not grow forever. So you can calculate that, the average wealth, or in terms of the balance in one's account, on average would be with these two parameters of 10 per day and like 1 basis point, would amount to about 100,000 units of the currency you could accumulate in your account. Now, of course, because of the economy and so forth, the currency would be moving around, and not everybody has, the same amount in their accounts. And so the amount of total money supply would just be, the the amount that each individual could have, or what the equilibrium level is, times the number of individuals you have in your economy. And now the interesting property of this is that that money supply will automatically grow or shrink as more people join your economy, or if people leave your economy. And so you don't have to have somebody sitting there, deciding, should we increase the money supply now? Should we decrease it? No knobs to be turned. The system can run on its own. It's completely algorithmic. And so with this, you don't have any inflation or deflation, even when your population size is growing or shrinking. And this kind of leads to very stable prices, forever, really. If a haircut costs, $20 now, it'll be $20 10 years from now or 100 years from now in the system. Also, it ensures, a fair distribution of the new money that's created. So rather than, creating money at the top and then, all these politicians and different ways of deciding how that money should eventually get into the population, you're not creating money directly at the bottom, and it trickles its way up. And this leads to a very prosperous economy, especially when you have demurrage, which kind of incentivizes you to spend, because if you don't spend, your account is going to continue growing. And if you have a lot of money, then you're actually going to be losing some of that. So then in 2016, I kind of expanded on the original ideas of the 2011 paper and created what I refer to as GETCoin. So GETCoin has the UBI aspect to it. It has demurrage, but it adds a couple additional features. One is a temporary peg, and that helps to stabilize the price of this currency during the initial stages when the number of people joining that system is growing rapidly. And basically all you need to do is, if the price is below the peg, you decrease the amount of UBI given. If the price is above, then you increase the UBI given, and it'll eventually come back to whatever price you're trying to peg it against. The other thing is that we came to the idea that you could have a community fund. I mean, if you can give UBI to individuals, then why not give UBI to fund community services, right? Like garbage collection and protection and things like that. So you could just periodically give to the fund a small amount proportional to the number of people that are in that community. Now, where does blockchain come into all of this? Well, first of all, the rules for GETCoin are technology agnostic, so they don't depend on blockchain or any specific technology. You could literally implement these rules into like games, like Second Life or High Fidelity. But if you want to use this for the game of life, then you want to make sure that the currency that you're creating is something that everybody can trust and not controlled by a central entity. So you want it to be on a trustless system that's decentralized. And so that's where the blockchain aspect of it comes in. And so you'd want to deploy something like GETCoin on a blockchain system. And currently I'm working on a project called Shardis, and we're working on the technology to create a scalable blockchain that'll actually be able to allow us to deploy something like GETCoin. And the technology can also be used for many different other decentralized applications, like decentralized social networks, for example. So the current biggest issue in the area of UBI is where will the money come from? So the way I look at it is the problem is not the lack of money, but really our understanding of what money really is. So ultimately, money is just a belief system to help us facilitate transactions between parties who don't trust each other. And so when you look at it from that perspective, you can see that, we don't necessarily have to use a central entity issued type of money. Money can really be created at the base level. And, you could fund your own UBI project using your own coin, using, the rules of a system like GETCoin. So in the 1600s, the telescope was invented, and it allowed us to look into space, and it, gave us a new perspective of our place in the universe. We realized that we're not at the center of the universe, and it was a controversial perspective, but eventually it prevailed, and it led to many advances in, science and technology, and ultimately helped improve the lives and quality of life for everyone. In our era, we have to look back at ourselves from space and realize that, there really are no borders, and that we're all part of this one large global scale civilization. And technologies like the internet and blockchain now allow us to organize ourselves in, much larger communities, and in ways that were never possible before. So I think it's time for us to change our perspective of what money really is. And only with a radically different view of money can we start to take advantage of these new emerging technologies and achieve a universal basic income, which can actually be, deployed on a global scale eventually and help to improve the lives of everyone on this planet. So with that, thank you very much. And if anyone out there can help me get in touch with Ron Paul or Andrew Yang, that would be appreciated. And also, if you are looking to run like, a UBI project, for your city or town, and you want to do it with your own coin, and feel free to contact me to discuss how that could be done. And I can be reached at omar@chartis.com, and on LinkedIn just search for Omar Syed Dallas. Thank you very much.